over the weekend, last Saturday, which would be the 3rd of October, Elokapina, or Extinction Rebellion, the Finnish chapter of this organization, had a peaceful protest in Helsinki where they blocked a road by basically sitting on it and like making a blockade of people. And the Finnish police did not respond to it in an appropriate manner. So they arrived on the scene and they used, I don't know if it's, pepper spray on people at close range. Here you can see the Finnish police protecting and serving. Look at these good eggs. To protect and serve. Oh yeah, baby. That's how you protect and serve. Cool stuff. It's just abhorrent treatment of people. So just to give you some background context on what Elokapina or Extinction Rebellion is, it is an organization of activists who are united against like the climate situation of the world. Essentially, that is what their main focus is. This is from their the Finnish website. I will read you their like statement of themselves, I guess. Elokapina. Extinction Rebellion Finland declares a climate emergency in Finland. We live in the midst of a climate and ecological crisis, and we demand that the situation will be dealt with the seriousness it requires. We have 3 demands that we make on the government, the media, and the society as a whole. We use civil disobedience and non-violent direct action, among other democratic means, in order to bring about necessary system-level societal changes. We are part of a global movement, Extinction Rebellion, and our action is based on the shared principles and values of the movement. So they are a non-violent organization, and their protest on Saturday was non-violent. They are an organization that aims to raise up the fact that we are living in an ecological crisis right now, that in 50 years, if we don't make changes, our world is going to be fucked for us. Not like forever, like the Earth will survive, but for us humans, things are going to be mad fucked if we don't act now. That's their point. And when they do protests, like the peaceful protest that they did on Saturday, they typically do these types of, blocking a road, etc., to, make a scene, to get attention, because when they block a road, etc., they get attention. The organization Elokapina tweeted that one strategic idea of their protest was to break law and cause seizes? What do you mean seizes? Yeah, apprehensions, so they want to get caught by the police. Yes, because it creates attention. Because when the police have to come and apprehend them, they get written about in the news, and their message gets spread. It is a form of activism, and it is an effective form of activism, because we're talking about the situation right now. It spreads the message, and it brings attention to them. So this is a form of activism. Activism is not... The point of activism is not to obey all of the laws, because you have to create noise and grab attention, and sometimes you have to break the law to do that. Okay. So the police coming there and using tear gas on them, or pepper spray, sorry, I should say, not tear gas, pepper spray, is a gross overuse of the police's power. Like that, and that's not their. From my understanding, the situation doesn't require that level of power, and that's not protocol. Protocol would be to carry them away, because they usually don't get up. You have to carry them off. It would be to carry them, and then detain them. From my understanding, this is like normal procedure. and what should have happened, not pepper spraying them. I don't know how the training goes about the sprays. The police need to disperse the crowd. Vocal attempts to get the crowd to disperse didn't work. I don't know what would have been the other tools. Just trying to cuff them one by one in the crowd is too risky. Maybe spray was the only tool that we're taught to use. I don't care if that was the only thing they were taught to do. It's not what they should have done. They should have carried each individual away from there and apprehended them. Yeah, they have carried other protesters one by one. They've done that before. That is usually what the police do in these types of situations. They carry the protesters away one by one. That's what they usually do. And that's what they should have done here. And then they did apprehend... They detained about 51 people out of a total of a few hundred protesters. So they did detain a big amount of people for this. And the people who do this, they get in trouble. Yeah, yeah. And the point of it is to cause chaos, is to cause disruption, because it brings attention. It brings attention to their cause and their messaging, and it creates urgency. Yeah, these people aren't robots. Yeah, they're human beings. Exactly, they're human beings. We don't treat human beings like this. We don't pepper spray them, because these... No, not cops. No, not cops. We're talking about the protesters are humans. Or maybe Rufio meant the cops are human beings. I'm not sure, but that's how I understood it. Those detained were released already, as far as I know. Yeah, they were released. But the point being that they got dealt with. Did Elokapina give a notification to the police before the protest took place? You don't have to do that, from my understanding. And even if they didn't, it doesn't matter. The point of protesting... So here's an important thing. The point of protesting is not to politely ask the government that you can hold signs and say slogans. That's not the point of protesting. The point of protesting is to inconvenience the government and its people, because it brings attention to a cause. Protests are not only peaceful marching and yelling slogans. Sometimes they're disrupting things because you need to bring attention to something, and that is the best way to bring attention, is to disrupt normalcy. I'm not saying do terror attacks. No, absolutely not. No. Do not kill people, do not do terror attacks. No. I'm not saying that. No, don't twist my words here. No. If the protest disrupts order of the normal public, then it's counterintuitive. No, it is not. That's the point. That is the point of a protest. The point of a protest is to disrupt, because it brings attention. That's the whole point of a protest, is to disrupt, because it brings attention to the whole thing. What do you think, Stonewall? The reason why we have the pride parades nowadays? You think those were just kindly protesting? No. Those were violent riots. Stonewall was a riot. It wasn't just, peacefully walking through town. We have that now because of years of fighting for rights. Yeah, Stonewall wasn't gay saying yay! Stonewall was spearheaded by black trans people and fought for. If you lock people from going to work, if you destroy people's shops... I'm not saying destroy shops. No, that's not what I was saying. I didn't say that. I said disrupt normalcy. Blocking a road, for example. Blocking a road versus destroying a shop are two different things. That's not what I'm saying. You're gonna end up hating you. If you stand on the sidewalk, maybe outside the police station where you wouldn't harm the innocent, it would be more effective. No, I totally disagree with you, Red Bar. Totally disagree. No. Totally disagree. It would not be effective because it can be ignored. The point of protest is to make it so that you cannot ignore them. That's the point. The point is that it's in your face. It's uncomfortable. It makes you uncomfortable because it's an important thing that makes others uncomfortable. The fact that our globe is essentially dying for us, and we're not taking drastic enough steps. We need to do things now. It's imperative. Nothing else matters. Literally nothing else will matter if we don't fix this issue. Politics doesn't matter. The EU doesn't, nothing else, none of our other shit that we're doing will matter if we don't fix this climate thing. Everything else will fucking be unnecessary. I mean, hey, that's Rabbar's opinion, but I will tell him why I disagree with his opinion, or their opinion, sorry, shouldn't assume. The protesters need to contact the authorities about nature and general spirit of protest beforehand. It's in the law. Yeah, I don't agree with that, to be honest. Like, just because it's law doesn't mean it's moral. I mean, the point of protest is not to be nice to cops. I mean, laws exist for a reason, Rufio. I know, I get your point. Your point being that just because something is in law doesn't make it morally correct, I think is the point that you're trying to make. You're not saying, like, who cares about any laws? Laws are important, but not all laws are just, you know? Like, asking the police nicely, like, can we protest? Is like, it destroys the point of protesting. Some protests, like big events like, you know, Pride, which happen every year, like, yeah, obviously inform the police, and it's, you know, it's a completely, like, the big Pride parades that we have every year, you know, minus COVID, are very different from what, you know, Extinction Rebellion does. Those are very different situations. I have my mind made, but it's a discussion which does change people's mind. I don't have any sort of bias, yes you do, so I don't need to make excuses. Also, innocent people were harmed, let's face it. People's cars getting trashed, shops getting destroyed. Aside from that, I think roadblocks are kind of ineffective in these times, as Corona has made only essential workers go to work, and if you stop even that, then the protesters look like aggressors. First of all, you do have biases. We all have biases. I have my own left-leaning biases, which I approach this with. You have your own biases. Saying you have no biases is not true. I don't know about the cars getting trashed and shops getting destroyed that you're talking about. From my understanding, this was not the case in this specific instance. And there are a lot of people moving around. Yeah, of course, there's less people moving around now than normally, but still, disrupting normalcy is a big point of this whole thing. And it is effective because we're talking about it now. Everyone's talking about it. That's effective. That means people are talking about it and people are thinking about it. That's what you want. Kindly asking for governments and companies to stop destroying the world has not worked. So we have to protest. It doesn't have to be nice to authorities. It's also in the law to not disrupt and cause significant harm to the environment and people around the protest. Yeah. But, you know, we also shouldn't destroy our ecosystem. Your property is not people. Yeah, and then okay. Here's the thing. If property damage is important for you, why is it important? From my guess is it's important to you because that property damage harms the business owners, assuming the property destroyed is small businesses. If they're big corporations, it's no sweat off their back, really. But let's assume we're talking about, you know, small to medium business owners whose livelihoods would be significantly damaged because of these events. So if you understand that property damage is bad because it damages people, then you should probably also understand that pepper spraying people who are mostly peaceful causes harm to those people. Physical harm, pain, psychological trauma. That should be also considered bad, no? Yeah, just to evaluate the actions of both parties. Yeah, I mean, listen, protesting is not what we want to have, you know? These people don't want to be on the street blocking a road to make a point. What we would want is that corporations, the ones that cause most of the pollution, would put their profit motive aside and fix their fucking shit. But they don't. They don't do that. They focus on profit above people and above the welfare of our planet. So we must protest. Because we must be heard. And then the police come and clap down on them like this. Police come and show a crazy amount of violence towards them. Unjustifiably. And then the fun part is, whenever Nazis are parading through the streets or doing their marches and stuff, the police protect them and do nothing to them. Nothing. But Ratbar, you're arguing against a straw man right now. There was no property damage in this specific instance. Like, you're making up a situation now. You're saying, yeah, protesting is necessary, but if there's property damage, it's bad. Yeah, but there wasn't. There wasn't the property damage in this situation. You're making up stuff. You're making up a straw man right now. Oh, what if they had nukes? The protesters, what if they had nukes, they could have killed everyone. That's why we had to use that force. They didn't have nukes. They didn't have guns. Oh, but what if they did? Like, you're making up a situation right now to justify what has happened and to justify why it's bad. You're making up all this external shit that didn't happen in this specific instance. In some protest, yes, there is property damage like we've seen in the US now over the summer. That's a different situation. I've seen a ton of videos on news outlets about shops getting destroyed. Yes, but not in this one, Ratbar. We're talking about a very specific instance. We're talking about a specific instance.
We're talking about the Extinction Rebellion protest in Helsinki, right?
Exactly. Ratbar, we're not talking about those protests. We're talking about this protest in Finland. You can't pull these unrelated protests. You can't pull these unrelated protests here and say like, oh, well, these are bad. Yeah, but they're not related. You're just you're just pulling other shit in so that your opinion is justified. We're talking about this specific situation in Finland and why the police using this force was unjustified. They were peaceful and they were sitting. That's it. They weren't destroying property. They weren't hurting other people. They didn't have any violent gear or anything threatening with them. The police pepper spraying them was unjustified, especially when we consider the Finnish police does nothing when it comes to Nazis. They protect the Nazis when they march around and do nothing. But when we protest for the world, for the globe, from a leftist point of view, then the police come and clap cheeks. But you can't bring these like, oh, I've seen videos of protests from other places. That's not how this works. You can't bring these unrelated protests here and say, oh, well, I saw this bad thing happen over here, so protesting is bad. Mito, I don't think that's the case. I think you're trying to make excuses for them. And if that's the case, would they not inform the people that, hey, that water is going to make it worse? Don't pour it. Rather than just take it and pour it away. Like, that's not how you handle that situation, even if that was their intention. And then, of course, the interior minister basically said, no comment until the report is done. And here we get to the other wonderful part about the Finnish police. It doesn't matter if their directions weren't listened to. Come on. Come on. It doesn't matter. They don't get to pepper spray people. It doesn't matter. They don't get to pepper spray people. It's not how this works. Listen, Mito, I know you have your personal bias in this. I get it. That's not how this works. I hope you recognize that you are coming up with excuses for them right now. We're giving them way too much credit and leeway here. We should be, in general, we should be less lenient towards police. Because police are in a unique position of power. They are in a unique position of power, and because of that, we need to be less lenient on them. We need to be more scrutinizing of them. They need to be held to a higher standard because of their unique position of power. Yeah, it was just saying normal pepper spray goes away with water or soap water, but Finnish police do not use pepper spray. They use something else with basically the same effect. Okay, I don't remember what they call it. In Yle calls it pepper spray, so that's what I'm calling it. Yle calls it in English pepper spray. Yeah, they shouldn't have used the spray, but then let's not make excuses for them. Let's not make excuses for them, Mido. We don't need to make excuses for them. We don't need to be like, well, maybe this, and like, no. We don't need to make excuses for them. We don't. You can say it was fucked. It was not according to protocol. And then it's like, this is how they treat, people on the left. But then Nazis are protected. I mean, they shouldn't pepper spray Nazis either, don't get me wrong. Like, they shouldn't do that either. But, we don't need to come up with excuses for them. But yeah, then getting to the fun part. So, this incident is going to be investigated by the Helsinki Police Department, which is an insane conflict of interest. It's such a conflict of interest. In general, in Finland, the police aren't investigated by the police. So that is a huge conflict of interest, in my opinion. It's a different precinct, I think, is the word. So it's not the same precinct that investigates, it's a different precinct. But it's still a huge conflict of interest that the police investigate themselves. I hope we can all agree on that. There should be an external body that has no ties to the police that investigates the police. Because otherwise, there's a huge conflict of interest. And now, the Helsinki police are investigating this. So, they go away for some time and they're going to say, oh, well, we didn't really find anything. Or, oh, well, we talked with this person and told him it wasn't cool. And that's what's going to happen. There's not going to be anything significant happen, because why would they? They protect their own. I know I'm trying to excuse it mostly because, from personal experience, they have been actually doing a lot of good work for their true purpose, protecting people, so I just don't want to believe that now they're turning into some bunch of assholes as the states. They're not turning into the same bunch of assholes, and they do good things. I'm not saying the police don't do anything good, but the problem is the institution of policing. That's the problem. It's everywhere in the West, it's the same issue. The reason why police were originally put together, it started in France and Britain, was so that they would disperse big groups of working class people, so they couldn't congregate and talk together in open spaces. That was one of the first jobs of the police that we currently know as the current policing institution. And this was born in France and the UK. And of course in the US there's a really racist history of catching escaped slaves, etc., etc. Then of course breaking up unions with the Pinkertons in the US. But even in Finland, we have the same history of the police institution in Finland, of breaking up groups of people congregating in public spaces. Protests shouldn't be allowed during social distancing anyways. I disagree. As we have seen in the US, my junker, the protests in the US led to some uptick in COVID cases, but not a significant uptick, because when people are outside, it doesn't spread as easily. The virus spreads specifically inside, in closed spaces. Those are the worst spreaders, as we've seen from Trump's rallies, for example. Hey, young guy, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Yo, as a minority in Finland, the police are here are shit. Yeah, they're less murderous than their American cousins, but I fucking hate the Finnish police. Yeah, talking with minorities is a great way to find out what the police are like, especially minorities who come from a impoverished background. Then you will learn what the Finnish police is truly like. God damn it, Sniff. Yeah, they were outside. Everyone wore masks. They had good distance. It's not an issue. It's not the same. This is not the same, Junker. If we're talking about indoor parties where people are not distancing and are not wearing masks, it is not the same as protests. It's not the same. It's not the same. And they're not stopping them anyway, yeah. Yeah, the spraying ruins their masks as well. Police here are part of why we still have so much domestic violence. Hell yeah, brother. But yeah, so the Finnish police are investigating themselves. This is a huge conflict of interest because they're not going to find anything. And they're just going to be like, who cares? Who cares? And, yeah, it sucks. It's being evaluated. Nothing's going to happen. Yeah, nightclubs are open, although I think they now have to close earlier. But yeah, nightclubs are open. Students are holding parties, so those are not being stopped in Finland. I don't know, Junker, where you're from. Maybe there that's the case, but in Finland that is not the case. And you know, the actions of the police have been criticized by MPs from the Greens, the Left Alliance, and Centre parties. Like, using pepper spray to disperse a crowd should be in the most extremes of cases. Like, extreme cases. This case was not extreme. Them not complying to orders, they should have been just carried out, and that's it. Simple. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's exactly. There are no resources to, like, disperse parties. Also, how do you find out about those if they're private parties? How do you find out about them? Like, that's also a problem. This shit fucking sucks because we the people have no way of holding the police accountable. This is also a huge flaw in the institution of policing. So, like, how can we, the people, hold the police accountable? We can't. Because the police investigate themselves. You know? So we don't get to see that process. They go away and then they come and tell what happened. We have no idea what the process is. What's happening. Like, we don't know. We have no... Like, our ministers are supposed to do that, but then they're saying, oh, we'll let the police handle it. So, you know, how do we hold the police accountable? We need an external body, part of the government, obviously, that investigates the police. That's how it should be. For cases like this, the police should not be investigating themselves like this. It doesn't make sense. Like, imagine if a big company commits tax fraud. The tax official notice like taxes are not matching up, something's wrong, and they basically go and say, hey, could you check if you did tax fraud? And then they go away for a couple of months and say, we didn't find any tax fraud. That's essentially what's happening with the police right now. Ja, oikeusasiamies, but they are typically they work with the police. That's the problem. Like, they are completely on the police's side. They're not impartial. Like we saw in the Lahti case, where the guy got beat up in the holding cell by like 5 police officers, while 4 just stood and did nothing while he was getting beat up, and the district attorney tried to hide that camera material. He tried to stop it from becoming available to the media and only let the plaintiff see it once. That's it. So we can see that these people also work too closely with the police, and their interests lie with the police. So we need something that is detached from the police and doesn't have this compromise that we have right now. The police in general should be held to an extreme level of scrutiny, because police have an extraordinary level of power in our society. And some level of policing is necessary, I agree. But the current system is not good in my opinion. And this is like a bigger discussion also about like how we handle, treating criminals, etc., etc. But we just need a better system for this, and something where police are held accountable for what they do and held up to scrutiny. But yeah, that's the discussion for today. Thank you for joining. Hello there, and thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comments, or you can visit my stream on Twitch where I can answer any of your questions. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Central European Time. We talk about news and games, news in the world from a leftist point of view, and also play some games. Come hang out with us, it'll be fun. Bye!